I am going to tell you about the most horrifying experience in my life, which I unfortunately share with my niece Sherry. It happened when Annette, my sister and Sherry's mother, had to work abroad for a week, and I was the only one who could look after Sherry, as I was working as a web developer and could work from my laptop. Annette was telling me to be extra careful, as there were cases of missing children and murdered parents around the area. Despite being a petite young woman, I knew how to take care of myself and had common sense to lock all the doors and windows. Plus, Sherry was never alone in the house. I had already looked after Sherry in Annette's house for a week before that night. It started as a regular night. Sherry had come home from school, did her homework. We ate pizza I had ordered and watched a movie before I put Sherry to bed. A couple hours went by, and Sherry was asleep upstairs while I sat in the living room working on my laptop, while I put a movie on in the background, when I heard footsteps upstairs. At first, I thought it was Sherry, when I realized the footsteps were louder than a 12-year-old girl's and sounded wet. It was raining outside, but no way would Sherry go out in the cold rain that night. I walked up the stairs. When I got to the top of the stairs, I walked towards Sherry's room when I gasped and froze in shock when I saw a figure of a tall, bulky man standing in the doorway of Sherry's room. The man heard me and looked towards me. He was wearing a rabbit mask over a full-faced black balaclava and was holding a hook in one hand and rope and duct tape in the other. He looked at me and said, "You're not Annette," before putting his hook up towards his lips and said, "Be quiet, you'll wake up Sherry," before he started walking into Sherry's room. I then screamed Sherry's name as I ran towards the room. That's when the man turned towards me, raising his hook and started walking towards me as Sherry woke up and screamed. I walked backwards as the man approached me. I knew I needed to run, but I didn't want to leave Sherry, and he was right in between us with no exit for Sherry. I managed to lure the man out of Sherry's room when he lunged towards me, swinging the hook towards me. I managed to dodge out of the way, but he cut me across the upper back and I fell down the stairs. I landed on the bottom floor, my back bleeding and in pain. I looked up and saw the man walking down the stairs. I looked and saw both my phone on the living room coffee table and the kitchen where I remembered the large kitchen knives. I looked up at the man as he ran and jumped at me. I rolled out of the way and he double stomped on the ground. If I hadn't moved, he would have jumped on my ribs. I got up and ran towards the coffee table with him very close behind me. He swung the hook towards my neck, but I ducked underneath and grabbed my laptop and managed to smack him across the face with it, hard enough for him to stumble, but not fall down. The rabbit mask came off and I saw his balaclava with very little holes for his mouth and eyes. I could only see his pupils. Behind him, I saw Sherry at the bottom of the stairs as she screamed my name. I screamed at her to run to the neighbors as the man swung the hook at me, as I managed to block it. He pushed me down onto the coffee table with him coming on top of me. He raised the hook up at me and swung it down and impaled my hand. I screamed in agony as he pushed the hook towards my chest. I resisted, but he was too strong, the tip of the hook stabbing my chest. With enough adrenaline, I poked my nails into his eyes and used my legs to sweep him off balance, then kicked him off, his hook ripping out a chunk of my hand. I ran to the kitchen with him chasing me. I threw a blender at him, which he blocked with both arms. I managed to grab a big kitchen knife as he swung towards me. I dodged and managed to stab him in the side. He retaliated by hitting me with a backhand, knocking me out. I woke up on the kitchen floor, dazed, and I saw Annette's neighbor kneeling next to me holding a gun. He asked if I'm okay before helping me to my feet, telling me the police were on their way and that Sherry was safe in his house. I looked around and saw a trail of blood leading to the back door where the window was smashed. Soon the police showed up and I was questioned after I had been to the hospital. The police looked for the man but couldn't find him, and the DNA collected from his blood led to nowhere. Sherry has been traumatized from the incident. She can't sleep at night and has had hours of counseling. Annette has quit her job and moved herself and Sherry to a small apartment in the city. I survived, but he got away, and I cannot rest knowing he's still out there.